Good morning, Willowdale children. So first time I did this story, it was almost 15 minutes long. So there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to tell you that I can't tell you. I'm going to try to really bring it down here. When I was 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, when I was in grade 1 and 2, I lived in Oakville, Ontario, which is not too far from here. Specifically, I lived in this house. This was the house I lived in grade 1 and 2, 2211 Devon Road. And I loved living in this house in grade 1 and 2. Part of what I liked about this house was it had a big backyard that we could play soccer in and run around and do all kinds of stuff. And then better yet, behind the backyard there was it sloped down and it was a wooded ravine. So we'd go back in there, my sister and the boy next door and the kids, we'd go and we'd dig holes and try to get people to cover them up and see if people would step in them. We had lots of fun in the wooded ravine behind the yard. So that was really cool living in this house. But that's not it. This is literally right beside the house, was Maple Grove Arena, a skating arena. So if I ever wanted to go skating, I had to walk like about 20 seconds to go skating. So that was really cool to have Maple Grove Arena beside. But that isn't even like the piece de la resistance about living in this house. Not only did it have the big backyard and the wooded ravine and the arena right beside it, but right behind the wooded ravine was a really good toboggan hill. I mean, kids from all over, not just even kids, people would come to this toboggan hill. So if I wanted to go tobogganing, I had to walk about like 25 seconds or maybe 30 seconds if I walked really slowly. So I could go back there and toboggan on the toboggan hill, come in, have some lunch, go back out. It was a great place. I really liked living at 2211 Devon Road. Now, when I was in grade 1, I went to this school, Maple Grove Public School, established 1872. Then in grade 2, I didn't go to Maple Grove School because during that year, they built a brand new school called Chisholm School. So it was closer to my house. But in grade 1, this is the school that I went to. And I actually had 2 teachers in grade 1. I had, first of all, Mrs. Dunbar, who was quite a young lady. And I think as a grade 1 student, I thought she was quite pretty. And then I was a big school, so halfway through the year, they shuffled around the class. And then I was in another grade 1 class with Mrs. Coyne, who was quite a bit older lady. And she was very nice. She may have been pretty at one time, but I think that might have been like years and years and years before she was ever my teacher. But I had 2 nice teachers. But what I want to tell you about is going back to like prehistoric times when I was in grade 1. So I never went to kindergarten. So this is me at my 2211 Devon Road house. This is me on the first day of school I ever went to school. 6 years old, going to school. And those pants, man, if you could see the pattern on those pants, those would make like lovely wallpaper design. But anyways, that was me going to school, grade 1, Maple Grove Public School. Now, how am I going to get there? Well, to get there, here's a little map that you may or may not be able to see, but I lived here, 2211 Devon Road, and my school was down here, Maple Grove Public School. So it says it was 1.2 kilometers. So sometimes I would get a ride to school from my parents, and I guess in the winter and stuff, sometimes I would walk, but what I had to do when I walked is I had to come down Devon Road, and it was mostly downhill. My friend Gordon Gow, my best friend, he lived, I think, on this road somewhere here, one of these houses here. I would come down to Maple Grove, turn left, and come down to the school, like that. Not too far, and it was mostly downhill. It was worse going back because it was uphill. But how did I go to school mostly? Most times, instead of walking, I took my bike. And I got to tell you about now this is not my bike, but bikes weren't like they are now. This is how bikes were back when I was in grade 1. These were the coaster bikes with the big handlebars. But the coolest thing about these bikes was the seat. They had to have that long, what we called a banana seat. If your bike didn't have a banana seat, it was embarrassing. You needed to have a bike with a banana seat. So I actually had an orange bike, very much like this. Mine was a little lighter orange, more like a creamsicle orange. And one thing that was different, these bikes were cool. See this thing right here? You could have someone stand there, put their feet on that little bolt thing there, and hold on to this, and someone ride on the back. But my orange bike had a black seat But instead of like this, it was a black seat and it had a big orange stripe right down the middle. Oh, I like that bike a lot. I wish I had that bike now, but it would be kind of small for me to try to ride right now. So most times I would ride my bike, my banana seat orange bike, all the way to the school. Well, I want to tell you about what happened one day. I was on my way to school on my bike some day in the school year. And what happened was I would usually cross the street and I would come down on this side. So back at my house, I cross the street, come down on this side, come here to Maple Grove, and there was always a crossing guard person, a girl or a lady or something. I think it was maybe a grade 8 student or high school student or something. I don't know, probably a grade 8 student. And they would help us cross and then we'd walk down to school. So one day I was coming down on my orange banana seat bike down Devon Road, coming to Maple Grove. And when I was maybe a block away, I noticed that the crossing guard and a couple of kids were leaving. In other words, I was late that day. I was coming late. And I realized that they're already going to go off to school and the crossing guard won't be there when I get there. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late. So I hurried as quick as I could. And by the time I got there, they were down here a little bit walking down the street. So I was like, if I'm on my bike, right, I can catch them and get to school on time. So there were no cars here on Devon Road. There's no cars over here, no cars coming this way. But as I was coming to the intersection, there was one car over here coming this way. And I thought, oh, there's a car. But it worked out really good because just as I was getting to the intersection, I slowed down a little bit and I looked at that car and I saw that the signal light was on. So they were going to turn up Devon Road. So I was like, great, they're going to turn. I can just go and catch up with the crossing guard and get to school on time. So that's what I did. I got to the intersection, I saw the car at the signal light, I pulled out into the intersection, and all of a sudden there was this screeching sound as tires and brakes were screeching, and this car came and it stopped right in front of me before it hit me. And I was so scared. I jumped off my bike, and my eyes were probably as big as 2 dinner plates, and I was looking at this lady in the car, and she was looking at me, and I was so scared. I got my butt back on that banana seat and I got my feet back on those pedals and I started pedaling as fast as I could and I caught up with the crossing guard and she's like, do you know you almost got hit? And I'm like, I know. She's like, you got to be careful. I said, I know. So we went to school and I was scared, right? It's like, whoo, I almost got hit. And I wasn't going to tell anybody. I didn't tell any of my friends, my classmates. I didn't tell my teacher or nothing. And so, got into school. It was okay. Morning recess, we were outside playing. Somewhere out here back at Maple Grove School, we were playing and someone came out, a teacher, a principal or something, someone came out and they called me to the principal's office. Oh my goodness, I was so scared. I had never been in the principal's office before. I'm getting called to the principal's office. What have I done? So I got into the principal's office and there was a lady there. And it turns out this was the lady who was driving the car. And she actually lived literally right across the street from the school. And so she had come over to school because she was concerned because she almost hit this little boy who rode out in front of her on his orange bike. And I don't know how they knew it was me. I don't know how they knew because they didn't tell anybody. I don't know if the crossing guard told them, but they figured it out. And so they called me in and they were very concerned. And it's nice. They were nice. They didn't make me in trouble or anything like that. They were kind, but they were very concerned about what had happened and wanted to make sure I understood how serious it was. And so the principal, I can't even remember the principal. I think it was a lady, or maybe it was a man. It was one of those two. Anyways, I think it was a lady. Anyways, I don't remember what the principal looked like or anything, but I always have remembered what the principal told me that day in her office. And that was, she said, never trust signal lights. And I've remembered that all my life, even to today. I think about that so many times in my life. Over and over, I hear those words, never trust signal lights. And even when I'm driving, sometimes I'm annoyed that people don't get going faster, but I always take a second look before I trust a signal light. I always wait to see what's going to happen. I never just, because sometimes people leave them on by accident. Sometimes, who knows? What had happened on that day? That lady didn't have her signal light on. What happened was, it was the morning, the sun was shining, and as the car was coming along, and because I was rushing and didn't take much time, I looked at the car and I thought I saw the signal light flashing, but it was really, I guess, just the sun kind of reflecting off the signal light, and because I didn't take enough time, I thought it was on and it wasn't. So that was very scary. So I want to tell you what I learned from that. Three things you can remember. The first thing is, and I'm still working on this one, it's better to be on time, or even better yet, to be early than to be late and always rushing. If you're on time or early, you don't have to rush. And often when we're rushing, things are more dangerous. So we need to try to be on time. Number 2, I remembered what the principal said. Never trust a signal light. I'm always skeptical of signal lights now. I always take a second look before I trust them. And the third thing I learned, which is very important, is that you can't always believe what you see or what you think you see. So in the Bible, in 2 Corinthians 11:14, it says, even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, as a good angel. When I was going to cross Maple Grove Avenue, or Maple Grove Road, whatever it's called, Avenue, I needed to have the crossing guard really there. I needed her to help me know when it was safe, to know if that car was coming through or turning. I needed her help. And just like that, in this world, whether you're a little kid or you're a big adult, a parent, grandparent, whatever, with miserable old Satan going around messing up stuff and trying to trick people, we need help. We need the Bible, and we need God's help to watch over us and keep us safe, and to help us know if what we're seeing and hearing is really true. Because there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't true. Just like I needed the crossing guard, we need God. We need His angels. We need the Bible to lead us so that we can be safe in life. So I hope that you'll remember to try to be on time. Never trust a signal light. And remember, you need God, you need the Bible to help you to be safe. Have a good Sabbath, everybody.